Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we have a fun video, or I guess I have a fun video for you, hopefully. I got this idea from Kayla at Books on Lala. She's done this quite a few times, but today I'm going to predict what I think I'm going to rate books based on their very first chapter. So I'm going to read the first chapter of 3 books, and after the first chapter I'm going to predict how much I think I'll rate it at the end, and then we'll read the books and see if I was right. So the TBR that I have for today are all 5-star predictions. I have read the first few chapters of one of these books and DNF'd it, but other than that I have not read these books, obviously. So the first one is A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. I have read one of her books before and really enjoyed it, 7 Days in June. I think that is not her only other book. That's her only other adult romance as far as I know. So that is the first book. Then we have If We Were Villains by M.L Rio. I had previously started this book on Kindle and then I think soft DNF'd it. I didn't really mean to DNF it, but I was in the height of school, law school to be specific, so I just didn't have the mental capacity for it at the time. But I remember enjoying it when I was reading it. And then the last book that we have is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, who is, I think, a historical fiction author. So yeah, these books I all anticipate to be very highly rated. So I guess we will see if I can predict how much I'm going to rate a book based on its first chapter. So I made my matcha. I put a little clip of me making it, but I ended up adding like a full other, I don't know if you call it a shot, like another scoop of matcha, because I just feel like it was way too milky. I just poured the milk too disproportionately, or maybe I just didn't put enough ice, because usually I have it very full of ice. So when I pour milk all the way up to the top of the ice, it's not that big of a deal. But it literally doesn't matter, and you all literally do not care. But I made my matcha and it tastes incredible. So I also made ramen. My brother and I have been fiending over ramen, which is so bad, obviously, and if my dad sees this, he will not be happy. But what do I want to start first? I think I might go in this exact order that it is right now. I think I want to start with 1,000 Splendid Suns, because this one I just feel like will do the most emotional damage. So if I could get this one out of the way, and then the books get like a little bit more progressively upbeat, or at least happy ending. Yeah, that's what I mean. Not upbeat, because I know A Love Song for Ricki Wilde is not going to be completely upbeat, but one can hope there will be a happy ending. With this one, there is just no telling. I think this is a sad ending type book. So I think I'm gonna start with this one and read the first chapter and let you all know how I feel about it. So we're gonna do that now. I'm very interested, and I really, really like the writing style. I think that's what sticks out to me so far. There was literally already a paragraph that I wanted to underline, so I think I might end up annotating this book. But yeah, I like it. I'm also interested because from doing English lit, like all throughout school, I know that like the last page, like the last sentence in the first chapter is kind of like the thesis statement, and or at least it's supposed to kind of be the catharsis of, well, not the catharsis, but it's supposed to be the foundation basically of the rest of the story and what it's going to look like. And I'm interested. Nana said, "Learn this now and learn it well, my daughter. Like a compass needle that points north, a man's accusing finger always finds a woman. Always. You remember that, Miriam." I think that's so interesting. I didn't know that this was going to be kind of like feminist literature, but, or if not feminist, well, feminist oppressed literature, I guess. But I'm definitely interested. I think right now my forecast is a 4-star, just solely based on the first chapter, because I have been thinking it would be a 5-star this entire time, just because I know that it kind of emotionally destroys everybody, and anything that could get me to feel that much emotion, I will more than likely enjoy or rate very highly. But there was nothing very emotional in that first chapter. There were things that I could see leading to very emotional stuff, but nothing emotional yet. So if I'm just going to objectively rate on the first chapter, I would say a 4-star. I'm interested and I really like the writing style, and I am excited to see where the story is going to go. So I'm going to read some more and then give you an update maybe later today about how I'm feeling about it. Okay, reading update. It's been, I'm holding a piece of chocolate. Yeah, it's been one day. I didn't vlog anything yesterday because I just didn't have anything to say, and I'm kind of in the same position today. I'm on page 237 of 1,000 Splendid Suns. I don't know, guys. I just don't feel connected to this story at all, and I'm not usually put in a position like this. And let me just put the chocolate down because it's distracting me. Yeah, I usually don't feel this way about historical fiction. Historical fiction, I haven't read quite a lot, but I've read a good enough amount to know that I really enjoy it, and it usually tends to have a really lasting impact on me. I just don't feel connected to this story, and I've sat and I've thought about it, because yesterday I thought about picking up the camera and talking about it, but I really didn't know what I wanted to say or what my actual thoughts and feelings were about the book. I was just kind of indifferent, but now that I'm like a little bit over halfway through, I think my problem is that these characters are on the outside of the wartime. So this is set in the 1990s, well, the 1980s. I think it started in the 1960s, and now we're like in the 1990s, and it really is just like wartime, war after war after war in Afghanistan. And this is a piece of history that I'm not extremely familiar with, so I don't know if my lack of context to the history is keeping me at arm's length from the story. But I have read a lot of other historical fictions, and a lot of them set in World War One and World War Two, which I don't know a lot about, and I've still like been able to immerse myself into the story and really sympathize with the characters. I don't feel this way in this one. What I'm thinking is that usually the people that I'm following, or the characters that we're following in historical fiction books that I have loved, are directly involved with whatever history is being talked about. So I don't know how to explain it, but these characters are, the only way they are finding out about certain things that happen in the war is through like hearsay and because of what people say, and they are very much there, but they aren't very high risk. Like, it isn't very highly likely that anything is going to happen to them right now, at least. So it just feels like they're in a bubble and they just turn on the news and hear what's going on, which it doesn't make me empathize with them particularly. It just feels like they're people who are experiencing wartime but not really feeling it. And I don't know if I'm articulating my feelings properly. The author also goes off on like long paragraphs sometimes of just like reports of what has happened, or like catching us up with what has happened since the last time he caught us up on the historical context of it. And the history is on one side and the fiction and like the storyline is on another side, and they don't usually meet in the middle. There's no stakes in it, and I don't know, I think that's what is keeping me unattached and disconnected from the story. Okay, so I finally finished. Also, please excuse my hair. I recently cut it. I'm washing myself in the mirror. I recently cut it and I don't know how to style it. I'm still trying to figure it out. So excuse that. But I just finished 1,000 Splendid Suns, and I think my prediction was wrong. I have no additional thoughts to add on top of what I was talking about yesterday in terms of how I was feeling about this book. It very much continued along the same trajectory, and it felt very repetitive and mundane and very predictable in terms of the storyline and where it ended up going. And on top of that, I just never connected to the characters, and I felt for them and I understood their struggles, but I just never connected to them enough to have like a real emotional response to the tragedies that were happening in this book. And that makes me really sad, because I obviously, as I've said before, I had really high hopes going into this book, and I thought that it just would have made a lot bigger of an impact on me than it did. But what I do respect is that we got a very intimate portrayal of the effects of this refugee crisis in Afghanistan. So yesterday I was talking about how my particular taste in historical fiction is when the characters that we're following are like directly involved. And the closest example that I could think of, the most recent one that I read, is the Paris Library, which I absolutely loved. And that one followed workers in the American Library of Paris or something like that during Nazi occupied France. And the story really just followed that group of employees in the library and their commitment to keeping the library open and active and keeping reading accessible to everybody during this time. And I felt like that insight into it made me feel so connected to them and so connected to the war and the time period, and it made a lot of sense to me, every move that they made. And with this one, I feel like we were just too far from the story. We felt the effects very much trickle down, and while we got a very slice of life, intimate look into the lives of these two women, it just didn't strike a nerve for me. And I don't read emotional books just to read them. I read them so that I could feel something, and I didn't feel anything crazy. I felt for them, but I don't know. But I ended up rating this one, I think 3.5 stars, which is just a touch below what I predicted in my first chapter. And as I said, if I'm remembering correctly, it seems like in the writing there are a lot of avenues for there to be something very emotional, and a lot of setup for there to be something very emotional and that could really touch me, but I haven't felt it. And that ran through the entire time I was reading this book. There were a lot of really emotional, very traumatic, horrible things going on here, and I didn't feel it. So that is my final thoughts, and please take this with a grain of salt, obviously, because I do think that for its time this was a really important book, and I understand why so many people love it and how it would have acted as an eye-opener to the refugee crisis in Afghanistan to a lot of people, and the role that it has in the community. I just personally wanted more from it, and that's all. Not to say that it wasn't a very well written and important story. It definitely was. So that's my thoughts on A Thousand Splendid Suns. Okay, so now that we have officially finished the first book, I'm going to start If We Were Villains and do my rating prediction of it. I don't have any plans. It's currently Friday and I have no plans tonight, at least not that I know of. My fiance is very spur of the moment, so I might have plans that I don't know of, but as of right now I don't have any plans. So I want to get into If We Were Villains by M.L Rio. I don't know how long the first chapter is. Okay, so I see that there's a prologue here, so I'm going to read the prologue and the first chapter. I see that it is written in scenes, so the chapters are called Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, which I'm already loving. So let's get started, shall we? Also, just a reminder, I have read this first chapter before, but I don't remember it, so I'm already so excited. And that was the prologue. I remember being into it the first time that I started reading it on Kindle, but I just As I said earlier in the video, I just didn't have the time to really commit to the book when I picked it up. So I am fat. I'm so excited. This is going to be a 5-star. Like, without a doubt, this is going to be a 5-star. First of all, the play that they're talking about right now, I read that play at least 3 times in high school. At least 2 times, but it could be 3. I'm pretty sure it's 3, but it could be 2. Doesn't matter. I know that play so well. It is like ingrained in my brain. So I'm like geeked right now. First of all, reading this the prologue and the first chapter. I love that it's written in scenes, and I also love the characters. First of all, this book is funny. I'm literally giggling because I understand kind of the banter, and like, I just feel like this is going to be right up my alley, and there's a mystery. Come on, I'm literally geeked. I am geeked right now. I'm so excited. And it's written like when people interject into our narrator's stream of consciousness, it shows up as like script writing, which is it's so fun. I'm about to eat this up, guaranteed. So if this is not a 5-star, I'll be surprised, honestly. Even if it's anything below a 4-star, that's when I will really be shocked. If it's a 6-star, I would not be shocked at all, because I'm sad. So I am going to sit here and continue reading for a while. Hopefully make a good dent, maybe like 70-ish pages. But yeah. Villains, and this is not me coming to give you my thoughts, but I mean, I guess I could. I finished it about an hour and a half ago. I've just been sitting on it and like watching some YouTube, playing some games, trying to figure out what I want to rate this. My thoughts on it haven't really changed. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Most notably, I loved the writing. I loved all of the Shakespeare references, and I loved how well fleshed out our cast of characters were. I think, I don't know, it just felt larger than life following them. Like, they were so obsessed with the Shakespeare and the theatre and the acting, and not being able to tell where their characters end and they begin on, like, their characters on stage and them in real life. I thought it was really fascinating, and I really loved it, and I loved the epilogue. But I think this would have been a 5-star if the reveal had shocked me. And now, because of what the reveal was, I'm wondering if maybe I misunderstood the point of the story. Maybe the mystery wasn't really supposed to be part of the story at all. But then I'm like, I do feel like it's a mystery. Like the mystery is a really huge aspect of it, and I think it's part of what kept me continuously engaged and intrigued, just wanting to know what really happened. So I do feel like that is at least one of the purposes of the story, if not the main purpose. So I don't know, I thought the reveal was incredibly obvious, and I knew very immediately that that was the case. Literally, that is the only thing that underwhelmed me with the story. Other than that, I loved it so much. I loved following like the obsessive nature of these characters and seeing like this company of actors who are more like family, but they're also like betrayals and love triangles and drama. You know, it was so fun. I really had a good time with this. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it, but it unfortunately is not a 5-star. Literally the only issue I have with this book is, and not to say that I disagree with that individual being involved. My issue is that it was that only, because that part was incredibly obvious and it felt like the mystery, like the reveal, fell flat. That's all. That's all. So I think right now I'm sitting on a 4.5. But my fiance is out with his friends tonight, and I'm still very much in a reading mood. So I do want to start a love song for Ricki Wilde. And as you can tell, I'm ready for bed. I didn't plan to continue the video, but let me get it. But because of the nature of this video, I have to read the first chapter and tell you what I think. So that's what we're gonna do now. And that was just a long-winded way of saying, please excuse my appearance. I'm ready for bed, basically. Why did I love the prologue? Where's my pen? Wait, why did I love that? Leap years are strange, and because February 29th exists only every 4 years, it is a rare, charged day. In the old days, back home, folks whispered that it was an enchanted time, when the veil between this world and the other was gossamer thin. The same folks also thought you could get pregnant from wearing a boy's shoes, so I never believed them, until Ricki and Ezra. Depending upon your level of skepticism, you'll think their story is either A, evidence that wondrous, unknowable magic exists in the world, or B, a tall tale. Now I can't tell you what to believe, but I will say that the truth is usually right under your nose, so keep your eyes open and pay attention. Leap years are indeed strange, and nothing is what it seems. I loved that. That was so cute. I don't remember her writing being so captivating. Based on that first page, the prologue, I have high expectations. Okay, so I finished the first chapter, the prologue and the first chapter. There seems to be, unless I'm reading too far into it, a touch of magical realism being hinted at here, which is really exciting. I don't remember there being any magical realism in 7 Days in June by this author, so maybe I'm reading into it, but doesn't seem like it. This is like the second time that it's been referenced in the first 20 pages. So I really enjoyed the first chapter, our introduction to our main character Ricki, and the rest of her family was interesting. See, I think we ended up learning a lot about the family and their dynamic in that first sequence, which was really well done. I really like Tia Williams' writing. I think what we know about Ricki so far is likable, but I do see that there is obviously room for improvement and maturity, and for her to come into her own, which I'm sure we will see by the end of the story. So I'm definitely really intrigued. What do I think I will rate it? I don't know. I instinctively want to say 5 stars. I feel like it's hitting some notes that I typically like. So with the magical realism and kind of a coming of age, growth, independent story, as well, woman's story, as well as a romance, because I know this is a romance and it's also set in New York, which one thing I forgot to mention about If We Were Villains is that I really loved the setting. I thought the setting was spectacular, and it really put us at the university, and I felt like we were really immersed in their world, and it was just like this faraway land that only they had access to, and it was just so cool and kind of haunting, and I loved the setting there. So I'm very big on setting, and I think this, wherever we're going to go in this story, is also going to be really good. It's in Harlem, and it's like her intention is to open a flower shop, which the feminine age to open a flower shop, everybody gets it, as well as a bookshop. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of elements that I would really enjoy in a story, and I'm excited. I think I don't want to overshoot. Right now it feels like it could be a 5-star if it really hits me in the emotions. Right now I think that's what will get a 5-star from me next. It doesn't have to be this book, but the next book that really hits me in my feelings and gets me really emotional and really connected, really attached to the story and the trajectory of the characters' lives and the characters in general, will get a 5-star from me. So I'm thinking that this one might hit those notes, but to be cautious, I'm going to say I think I will rate this 4.5. So I'm going to read a little bit more for the rest of the night, and then tomorrow I think I'll update you with my thoughts, feelings, all of those good things. Okay, vlog, hello. It has quite literally been multiple days since you have seen me, and it doesn't probably seem like that to you, but take my word for it. It's been a few days. However, I do have an excuse. It's been my fiance's birthday, so his birthday was yesterday. So all day Friday I was kind of out doing stuff, and every year for his birthday I make him carrot cake. So all evening I was making carrot cake, and then we went out with our friends that night, and then the next day I just spent it with him, and then we went out again on the night of his birthday, which was last night, and today was just kind of a decompress kind of day. So I say all that to say, you haven't seen me. I finished a love song to Ricki Wilde many days ago, possibly Thursday, possibly Friday. I really liked it. I think in the moment when I had just finished it, I would have given it 4.5, and then I would have been so perfectly on point with my rating, and I would have been so proud. But I just don't think that's my rating anymore. I think I've landed on maybe 4, because when I think about other romance books that have, did I put on lip gloss? No, I just put on liner. Anyway, when I think of other romance books that I have rated 4.5 stars, I think about how they made me feel. I think about the characters. I think about just the romance, and if it was cutesy, if it had me giggling, laughing, kicking my feet, really, really attached to the characters. And I do feel like that's what was lacking in this book. My belief in their story and their love story. This is a magical realism type of situation where, let me see if it's in the synopsis. Okay, yeah, it doesn't say anything about it, but basically there is magical realism in this one. There's a kind of fantastical element of it, and I feel like I can't give a good review of this without spoiling it, because it's not on the synopsis, and we kind of figure it out later on in the story as well, so I can't talk about it. However, what I can say is that they are supposed to be, or at least it's supposed to be, written in a way where they are like fated and like true soulmates, like in any universe, in any century, in any lifetime. You are just the one for me. And I couldn't believe that. Like, there were a lot of elements of the story that I really liked. I thought the writing was really good. I have annotated quite a bit of this book, and I really enjoyed annotating it, to be honest. There are some really lovely lines and paragraphs, and I do think that Tia Williams's writing is great. What I didn't buy in this story was the romance, because I really, really liked the two main characters as well. I loved a female main character. She comes from a huge like dynasty in New York, and she doesn't really want to follow the trajectory that her family has kind of laid out for her. And so she moves to Harlem. She rents this apartment in a brownstone, and she opens her own flower shop where she does like really eccentric floral arrangements and stuff, which was really nice to read about. And seeing her kind of come into her own was great. I also really, really loved our main male character, who is a musician. He's a musician, he's an old soul, and I really, really loved hearing his story. I loved the setting of Harlem, but I did feel like some of it read very historical, and some of that historical talk could have been spent building up the romance and kind of making it so that we understand why they would be fated and why they are perfect for each other. I read this book, it's been days, I've thought about it, and I just still don't understand why they are made for each other, why they are the right person for each other, whatever. I just didn't buy into it, because I felt like, especially like the last third of it, I felt like it was a montage. It felt like their relationship and the development of their relationship felt very montagey and kind of secondary to the rest of the story, which was like the mystery element of what was going on with our main male character. So I don't know, I really enjoyed it. There were some lines in here that I really, really loved, which, again, as I said, Tia Williams, her writing is exceptional, and I think she writes love quotes and life quotes really well, but I think what I'm lacking with her is that attachment to the actual romantic element in the story. So she has me with the writing, she has me with the characters. She just, like, the connection of the two is just where I have problems. So 4 stars for A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. Not to say that I didn't love it, I really liked it and I sped through it. This was a really good reading experience, I would say. But yeah, that's that on that. While we're here to round out this vlog, I will say, or just I guess reiterate, If We Were Villains by M.L Rio, I predicted that this was going to be a 5 or 6 star read, and it ended up being a 4.5 read a week later possibly. I still stand by that. Loved that book, truly I loved it. And then A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I thought that this was going to be, what did I say, 4? It ended up being 3.5. So honestly, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I did pretty well. I would say that my ratings were, yeah, all of my ratings were 0.5 off. I didn't find any 5 stars, and these were all 5-star predictions, so obviously that's very disappointing. But regardless, I had a really good reading week, and I enjoyed, to some extent, each of these 3 books that I read. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, my final thoughts on this experiment is that, I don't know, I do feel like predicting what I think I'm going to rate a book in just the slightest, most minuscule of ways made me really hyper fixate on how much I was going to rate it throughout the entire story. So like, I was always thinking about my rating throughout, which I never do while I'm reading. I just read a book and recognize what I like, what I dislike, and then think about rating after. And I do feel like thinking so much about the rating kind of put pressure, maybe is the right word, put a little bit of pressure on the reading experience, and I don't think that was really good for the books. So it was just a fun challenge and stuff. Obviously I won't be predicting ratings and stuff going into other books that I read more casually. So yeah, those are my closing thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.